welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hey, how you doing? My name is Ash. I am a makeup artist and a book lover, and it's been a while since I filmed, but I did read 18 books in June, so let's talk about it. So it is officially July 1st. I have survived June, and I am ready to just deal with the last 6 months of the year, and like hoping that they're better than the first half. So I did this makeup look today. It's nothing riveting. I just am filming right before I have to go to work, so I wanted to do something really simple but like still talk about all the books that I read, which 3 were physical, 15 were Kindle. It was a little Kindle heavy this month, but I really enjoyed what I read. I will say my favorite read for the month was Leather and Lark. This is book 2 in the Ruinous Love trilogy, and I just this whole series, I'm gonna love it. But I was super happy to read more than 10 books, but I don't think I have anything else to say in this intro, so let's just get into doing the makeup and doing some book chats. It's July 1st. I survived June, surprisingly, and I'm gonna talk about all the books that I read in June, so let's just jump into it. I have about like 30 minutes to film because I started this late because I was reading this morning. I'm gonna start with like moisturizing slash sunscreen. This is the Naked Sundays CabanaCreme Hydrating Sunscreen Moisturizer. I thought that this was breaking me out, but I've been using it like every day, and it turns out the thing that was breaking me out was a cleansing oil. So I'm going to do a couple pumps. I have to close at work tonight, so I don't really want to be too heavy with the makeup. I don't want to do too much because I get pretty lazy when I get off, and like I don't want to struggle to take off a bunch of makeup. I'm gonna start with my brows. Do I need to zoom you in a little bit? It's been a while since I filmed, so I apologize for anything that might not be right. Also, my chair doesn't want to stay up anymore, so I'm sitting lower. So I'm gonna start with my Anastasia Brow Wiz as I talk about If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy. This is a part of a series with other authors, and I believe this is the first one. So this is basically a Cinderella retelling. Every book in the series is going to be a different like Disney retelling basically. I think the last one that came out just a couple days ago, Tangled in You or something like that, of Rapunzel one by, oh, it's not Emily Henry, is it? No, Christina Lauren. So that's out now. I wasn't really interested in that one. I don't hate Rapunzel or dislike Rapunzel, it's not like my favorite story. But this book follows Cindy, who is a plus size woman who just finished college and she's struggling a bit, and she has a huge obsession with shoes. She has a stepmother, obviously, it's Cinderella, and 2 stepsisters with 3 like half siblings. And she actually doesn't have a horrible relationship with her, you know, stepsisters or stepmother, which I found very refreshing for a Cinderella retelling. So her stepmom is like the executive producer, creator, or something like that, of a reality TV show that is basically The Bachelor, Bachelorette, whatever, that whole subgenre. I do not watch those at all. I don't watch reality TV at all. I'm not a fan of it. I used to be, and like something like flipped in my brain. I'm just like not into it. But you have Cindy, who is flying back home because she couldn't land a job after her last year of college because things just happened. Going on with my nicks. So on the flight home, she meets this charming stranger who she dubs Prince Charming, which is fitting because that guy she ends up meeting again without really meaning to. So she flies home, and her stepmom is kind of frantic because some of the contestants dropped out, and her 2 stepsisters decided that they wanted to do it, and then Cindy decides that she wants to do it herself, kind of just as a way to promote herself as a shoe designer. Oh, and the show is called Before Midnight, which all ties into the Cinderella thing. So it's basically just the typical Cinderella story, this time just with a plus size FMC, and I liked it. It took me a while to get into it. It's not that long of a book, like just around 300 pages, and for some reason it just took me a while to get into it. This month was like a weird reading month for me. I did give it 4 stars because I enjoyed it, and I love the change in the Cinderella story where like the stepmother isn't evil and the stepsisters aren't bitches, and I enjoyed it, even though it was a reality TV sort of thing, but I liked it. I gave it 4 stars, but I'm not sure if I'm going to pick up any more from this series. And then I got sucked into my Kindle. I'm gonna go in with my About Face foundation while I talk about this series that I picked up. I started reading it a couple months ago and I decided to pick it up. It is the Monsterly Year series by S.J. Sanders. I read the last 5 books in the series that is out, is what I'm trying to say. So the first one was The Pixies Queen. This is a polyamorous story. The Pixies, they have 1 queen and then like 4 males, and you know, it is what it is. So you have Orinda, who is a human / witch, and she's born into her witch family with basically no witch powers, and she is traveling and avoiding her family, and she eventually somehow gets sucked into this pixie world, and she finds that she's like shrunken in size. She's like pixie size. She finds basically her hive, and she kind of just focused on trying to get back to her human size because she's not used to being so tiny. And the hive is with these 4 guys who have been together. You have Shavis, Oral, Gwen, and Dazi. But they were like basically about ready to give up finding their own queen, and then they stumble across her. There was a mixed message, basically. I don't know what made her think like, yeah, I should jump into bed with all 4 of these guys and like screw the consequences, basically. But it starts with a bang. It's a fun little read. I gave that one 4 stars. I am not into like reverse harem stories. I can't get behind them. But I do like polyamorous stories where it's a group of people who they all have feelings for each other. I feel like you don't get that with reverse harem, but I could be wrong. And then the next story was The Unicorn's Mare. I ended up giving this a 4.5 because I thought that the unicorn Elif was just really adorable and just, it was so cute. Steph, who is a human, and Elif, the unicorn, who he stumbles across her and realizes that she is his mate. Apparently unicorns are all males, and they find their mates and they instantly like basically like kidnap them and take them back to their not stable. I don't know my words. Oh, but this was the Merritt Bronson stick. But he kind of goes about it wrong, and he doesn't instantly just sweep her back to his world, which turns out is a bad thing, because as soon as a unicorn meets his mate, that mate then gets some unicorn magic, and evil fairies like to basically kidnap, you know, young mares and mates of unicorns because they like the blood. Basically, they have this plan to go and kind of reverse the mating thing because she's not interested in being with anybody. It's nothing against him being a unicorn. This is my Kosas Revealer Concealer. And the story just goes on for how they navigate getting to where they need to go. They have to go through elven land, and elves are just, they're assholes in this story. And you have a side character that is a goblin, who, that's the final book that I read, his story, and I liked the whole aspect of it. It was one of my favorites in this series, and like I gave it a 4.5. I do have a point to make at the end of all this because it's just a problem with the series that I found. I'm gonna move on to the next one, which is How to Claim a Human Mate. This is with Lynn and Bodhi, which is a human. Lynn is the human, Bodhi is the orc. Lynn decides to move to the orc world and open up a coffee shop. When she gets there, she meets Bodhi, and she is instantly just annoyed by him, and he is just kind of enraptured with her. And like orcs, I guess, don't find their mates like instantly. Like they don't realize that they meet their mate. I always get like something pink happening here and I don't get it. Anyways, this one goes into their love story, and you meet another side character that will be in the next story. And basically they navigate their feelings and learn how they can have a good relationship, and also deal with the problems that arrive in the orc village, which is basically the same thing that happens in the human world, where people don't like the mixing of species. So there was like a faction that would come up that was like, yeah, we don't want humans and orcs to be together. But that was basically that one. And the next book was Trick or Orc, which is the story of Cassie, who is Lynn's best friend, and Garvel, who is Bodhi's brother. And this one was like more adorable. It's shorter, it's more like a filler novella, whatever. I'm gonna powder with my Elli Beauty and Kosas cloud setting powder. It's cute. You have like a cinnamon roll orc, and Cassie basically ends up coming to the orc world at the insistence of her best friend because she got divorced. She has 3 kids and she just wants to restart. Garvel and Cassie actually met the year previously because Cassie went to the world with Lynn in the beginning, and that's where she met him, but she was dealing with a bad relationship with her husband and eventually getting divorced and moving there. This one was cute. I did give this one a 4-star rating also. Yeah, I like that one. And then the last one was Goblin Candy, which you meet Grimsel and Candy. Grimsel you actually meet in the unicorn mare, and he's the goblin that is friends with the unicorn. Grimsel isn't looking for a mate, he just happens to stumble across her, and her name's Candy, and it's right around Halloween, so it's a very festive fall read. I like this one enough to give it 5 stars. It was my favorite of the series, I think. I'm not gonna get too much into it because it was a shorter story. It was actually a quick read. This is my Nabla Freckle Maker. But this one was just, like I said, a fun, quick read, and I did give it 5 stars. And I'll talk about the little issue that I had with this whole series. So it's more like a writing plot issue that I have. Like, I like monster romance books and everything, but my issue I found when I was reading these was a problem would be presented with the characters having the means to kind of rectify the problem, but then it's just never getting addressed again. For example, in the Pixie story, the Pixies had a problem with the trolls trampling their basically little sections that they are, because they're kind of like in their own burrows. And you have this human who shrunk down to pixie size, who could be made back to her normal size, and like, you're not going to tell the trolls like, hey, watch it? Or like with the unicorn story, this one made less sense to me, because like, you would think like that would be like a priority for you to tell somebody, because I guess the unicorns don't like interact with other people. They're just, I'm gonna call them stables. They're not stables, but they're like left to their own devices, and they don't really interact with anybody. And so you never know if something bad is happening. And then you learn that, you know, unicorn babies are being stolen, and mates are being stolen and killed. So kidnapped, you know, kidnapped and killed. And you learn of this, but do you think to like warn anybody else? No. No, you did not. That was my only issue with that. I'm gonna finish talking about the rest of the Kindle stories. I'm going to try to speed through this because I actually finished up the West Protection series from M. Petrova, starting with Cowboy and the Crosshairs. I'm going with my Nabla bronzer. Cowboy and the Crosshairs is with Silas and Wendy. Silas is one of the founders of West Protection, and he meets Wendy, who is a New York City socialite. He has to go protect her because her father and herself got some death threats, and he's just tasked to going and protecting her, which is fine. Except that she likes to take trips down to Mexico, to a little town that's like a hotbed for, you know, activity. The reason why she goes is altruistic, all that jazz, whatever. Colourpop Twilight highlighter. But she goes down there, and like, he has to protect her, and she's not, you know, truthful with him. Basically, she's trying to meet with people in Mexico to help bring like clean water to these little towns that she somehow found. I'm still unsure how she got there, but these stories are very insta lust, insta love, whatever you want to call it. Very quick to you know, smut and stuff, which isn't always a horrible thing. I honestly hated the ending for this one, so I gave it a 3. I think every other book in the series I gave a 4-star rating to, but it's just the way that this ended. It's like realistically, if anything like that were to happen, like, you wouldn't just forgive that easily. The next one was Protected by the Cowboy, which is, was that Josiah and Raina. Raina is an FBI agent that he worked with before, and she needs to go undercover in the rodeo to kind of break up a drug trafficking ring, and he offers to help. He's been basically in love with her since he met her and just pining after her. So this is more their story about getting out of the friend zone. The whole plot of it was kind of obvious. I kind of got who was part of the drug trafficking ring pretty early on. That is what it is. Wasn't bad. 4 stars. I'm gonna kind of speed through this. So Bravo Tango Cowboy was with Mike and Corinne. Corinne is a Winton and Mike is a pilot that gets hired on. Blush. This is the Lottie London Serene blush. So those two always butted heads and they ended up working together. Even though Corinne doesn't really work in the field, she's more of like the desk person who like fields like calls and appointments and whatnot. She ends up getting caught in this archaeological dig that they are entrusted with basically protecting, and this all ties back to the, I believe it's the 3rd story with Madeline and I can't remember the guy's name, Mateus. I think they were both M's. So Corinne obviously has feelings for Mike and Mike obviously has feelings for her. They end up working together and like everybody gets a happily ever after. And the next one was Breaking in the Cowboy. This is with Casey and Emerson. Casey and Emerson were both foster kids. They grew up together. This is like second chance, brother's best friend, childhood friends to lovers. Casey is a ranch hand at the Winton Ranch and he was also a former Marine and a former bounty hunter. Emerson kind of shows up unexpectedly back into his life because she's in trouble. They realize that they've always had feelings for each other and they act on it. There's drama, there's spice. Honestly, the book's like 60% smut and like 40% plot for like all these stories. But this is my Urban Decay Hyaluronic Setting Spray. So I like that one. It was cute. The next one was Shielded by the Cowboy, which is Janessa and McCoy. Caleb McCoy. He goes by his last name. This one has a strong FMC, and you have the Mafia. Of course, the Mafia has to show up at some point, right? This one's funny because Janessa basically kidnaps McCoy because she needs the help of a police officer because the Mafia's after her and she can't go to just the regular police. She has to get one police officer on her side. Turns out McCoy's not a police officer. He was just posing as one. Luck's on her side because he works with West Protection. He ends up going along with her and helping her out, and West Protection gets involved and she becomes his ward and all that jazz. Close Range Cowboy is with Landon and Ellis. Landon tormented Ellis when they were like children and stuff. Not necessarily bullying. Landon was her brother's best friend. They're kind of like enemies to lovers, whatever. This is my e.l.f. No Budge Retractable liner thing. So Ellis basically shows back up to town because she is in some kind of trouble and she had nowhere else to go because she didn't want to involve her brother in it. So she decides to find Landon and he decides to help her out, and she basically tells him that she kind of effed up and her job at a insurance company is basically trying to kill her. I'm gonna do something simple, so I'm just gonna go in with my Secret Garden palette and just do a couple shades. So he ends up helping her and for some reason decides to take her to a casino because it's better to like hide in plain sight, but she has a way of getting attention drawn to her because she's good at numbers and she was somehow counting cards, which you can't do at a casino. Landon and Ellis, they are obviously, all these women are attracted to these cowboys and they fall into bed together and all happens in like 5 days. So basically you can go from not knowing who they are, meeting them, instant lust, fall into bed, instant love, marriage. Real quick. But yeah, it was an interesting one. I liked it. And then that goes into 4 more. I'm gonna breeze through these. So the next 3 books are with the Able brothers. They are people that are brought into West Protection They are the new employees. So you have Judd, Jace, and Jaren. Zero Dark Cowboy is about Judd and Ari. Judd didn't start out protecting Ari from a job. They went to a tech conference where she basically asked him for help, and he decides to take her up on it. Basically something happened and she was supposed to do something, otherwise she was going to be killed, and it's like Judd and the rest of the West Protection can't have that. So they offer to help figure out what's going on, and someone from the past comes back that the Able brothers knew, and this is again another like love at first sight. There is the mafia involved in this, of course. Overall, it's interesting. It sets up the story for the next 2 books with the brothers. The next one is Top Secret Cowboy with Jace and Bronte. This is more like corporate espionage, fake dating. There's a cat involved. But Jace is tasked to going to San Francisco to try to figure out what was stolen from this company, where he meets the owner who has annoying shoes according to him, and they end up falling in the bed together because that's what happens when you get protected by these cowboys. Turns out the whole corporate espionage thing did happen, and there was way more to the story than they thought, because they're dealing with someone called the Broker, and it's a very stupid villain name. And the Broker was in Zero Dark Cowboys and Top Secret Cowboy. It's in the next one, which is Cowboy Under Siege. This is with Jaren and Trinity, full name Trinity. Basically, Jaren meets this woman at a rodeo, and he tries to impress her by getting on a bull, and he's never been like on a bull before. And they end up falling in the bed together, you know, one night stand. But it turns out once he gets back to the office, they're like, do you realize who you were with? And like, no. And it's like, she's a missing heiress. It's like, what? So this ties up the Able brothers and the whole Broker thing. I think the reason for the Broker doing what he did is kind of lame. Not gonna lie, kind of lame. But it's still enjoyable. I liked it, and this was basically wrapped up the main story of West Protection. The next story is basically a holiday novella that kind of sets up for another series that she has. So that one will be Fake Christmas Date Cowboy, which is with Declan Finch and Belle Robb. This is based at Christmas time. Basically, the Wyndon Ranch is a place for a charity event for the holidays, and they are raising funds to help, I don't know, kids or something. And some of the West Protection team is tasked with working undercover, and that's where he meets Belle, and they hit it off, and he kind of like, you know, F's her in the garden, which, hello, cameras. But they basically catch feelings really quick. Her ex is there, and she has a past with him. He's with his new fiance, who was a girl that like tormented her in school. So they are suspicious of them. Drama ensues, and it was cute. Then I put glitter way too far down. I did not want that today, so I didn't want to do too much makeup, and look at me doing too much makeup. It's a quick read. It's shorter than the other ones, and it kind of wraps up and helps branch off into the new series, which is the West Protection Century, something like that. And those were all of my Kindle books. I gave, like I said, overall the series like a 4-star rating. It wasn't horrible. I enjoyed it. I thought it was entertaining. Anyways, I'm going to talk about the last 2 physical books that I read, and then I'm going to wrap this up because I should have finished this like 20 minutes ago. I picked up the Thornhedge book from T. Kingfisher. This is just a really short fairy tale story. This one was really cute. I gave it 4 stars. I really like the writing style on it. So you basically have this fae world mixed with the human world. There is changelings. I don't know why I'm struggling to say that word. And she is basically tasked with keeping this secret and guarding basically the house of her father, trying to kill the story of what she has hidden because she doesn't want it to get out. And then this knight comes around who's not like a very good knight, I don't think. Like, he's not good at his job, not that he's a bad person. And he is determined to break what he believes is her curse. And it's just a really cute story. Like I said, I really like the writing style of it. I thought that it just flowed so nicely. I read it pretty quick. I I think I read it before I went to work one day, and like it didn't take too much time at all. My eyeliner is not even at all. I should have just not filmed today. That's what I should have done. But anyways, I explained this so bad. But I really enjoyed it. I'm really interested in reading more from this author because I've always been intrigued by the like covers and everything from the books. So I need to check out more. And then the last physical book I read, Leather and Lark by Bryn Weaver. This is the second book in the Ruinous Love trilogy. This follows Lachlan and Lark, who you do meet in the first book, which is Butcher and Blackbird. I enjoyed this. I'll be honest, I have flip-flopped between my thoughts on this because I originally rated it 5 stars, and then I thought about it more and I backtracked and I put it to like a 4.25, and then I thought about it again and I was like, no, this is more like a 5-star rating. So my rating, you can say, is between like 4.5 and 5. I did enjoy it. This is the slowest of slow burns. You don't get to any sort of spice until like page 281. It is what it is. You have Lark, who is the best friend to Sloane, and you have Lachlan, who is the brother to Rowan. And basically Lachlan and Lark, they had an interaction that you don't realize happened in the first book. You realize why they don't like each other off the get-go, and it's actually kind of funny. I'm not going to spoil it, but they kind of can't really stand each other, but he is like insanely attracted to her, and like he just thinks about her, and she's like just kind of pissed about their interaction. Appledoll mascara, why not? So this story is a marriage of convenience. Basically, someone is killing off Lark's family and acquaintances, and all the signs kind of point to Lachlan doing it, and she overhears her parents basically saying like, hey, we should take out the McCain brothers, and she's like, you can't do that to my best friend, love of my life, Sloane, because Sloane and Rowan just got married. So she devises a plan with her Aunt Ethel, who is one of the funniest characters in the series. I loved her. And they devise a plan that basically that she needs to marry Lachlan, and that will kind of ensure his protection, which would basically ensure the Kane brothers' protection. I will say that this story isn't as gross as the first one. The first one didn't leave me scarred, but I can't look at orzo rice the same way, nor can I look at cookies and cream ice cream the same way. But I will say, she didn't really ruin like anything in here for me, which I kind of expected since the first one was so gross. And for Lachlan being a contract killer and Lark being a serial killer, there's not a lot of like killing going on. There's fireworks though. So like I enjoyed the banter of it, and I love how they just navigated their feelings and how they learn more about each other, and it was a good time. I really enjoyed it. I read it pretty quickly. Not as quickly as I wanted to since I was working, but I read it and I enjoyed it. And I am, oh my god, I am so excited for the 3rd installment, which I think is going to be called Scythe and Sparrow. Oh my god. The way that she left that, the way that she left the book leading to the 3rd one with the younger brother Fionn, his story with Rose. I have a feeling that one might be my favorite, but I don't know. I still think I like Butcher and Blackbird more than Leather and Lark, but this one was still really good. I think I will leave it at a 5-star rating, but just know that Butcher and Blackbird was my favorite. So those are all the books that I read. I am going to quickly finish up my makeup, figure out just what the hell I'm doing because I'm not liking this, and I'll be back to wrap up this video. Alright, and here is the finished look. I don't love it, but I'm going to deal with it because I have to go to work in like 20 minutes, so I just need to not do this. So I did finish off the look by going in with a half lash from Elli Beauty in the style Rexy. You can barely see it, but it just adds a little bit of something because just mascara wasn't cutting it. And I finished off my brows with the Caramel Dip Brow Gel from Anastasia, and then I just threw on a lip oil because I don't like wearing lip products to work. And my earrings are the frog earrings from Fallen Pine Studio, and my necklace is Lovecraft Crypt. And that's the look. June was definitely a better reading month for me than May. I feel like I barely read anything in May, and I kind of feel like I barely read anything in June, even though I did read 18 books. But that is because I only read 3 of my physical books. But I do plan on reading more of my physical books in July. I'm going to really focus on trying to dwindle down my physical TBR. I actually did go through all my books and search them on Amazon, on Kindle Unlimited, to see if they were available. And I have 75 books on my bookshelves. 75. Probably more at this point. But at least 75 books that are available for free on Kindle Unlimited. Love that for me. That is the plan for July. I am currently reading Powerless and Powerful by Lauren Roberts because I'm filming this on the 1st, and on the 2nd, tomorrow, because I don't know when this video is going up, but Reckless, which is book 2 in this trilogy, comes out. And I'll be honest, when I started reading Powerless, I started it back in, like, I want to say April, maybe even further back. I don't remember when I started it, and it took me forever to get through it. I'm still not done with it. I will be finishing it tomorrow for sure, so I have about 200-ish pages left. And it took me about 200 pages to get really invested into it. Basically, I didn't really start being like, yeah, I'm going to love this book until I got to the first ball, which took a while. But again, I'm not fully done with it, so I can't exactly tell you my full thoughts on it. But this is my look. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want, you can follow me on my other socials. I'm artistryxashh everywhere. And if you want more book content, I am Ashley with 2 H's.reads. All my links and everything are listed down below. But yeah, that's it for this video. I need to go rush off to work. But thanks for watching. I hope you have an amazing day or night whenever you're watching this, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye. Turn this life into something that you can never own. So fight